I have a great show tonight. I'll be talking to Melanie Infinger, and she will talk about the murder of her daughter, Caitlynne, and how it was even possible for Caitlynne's husband to be released from jail. With charges against him piling up, Melanie and her daughter didn't believe he would be bailed out. However, he ended up being let out of jail without bail. He was set free on a personal recognizance bond. It is now Melanie's mission to get a law passed in her daughter's name, Caitlynne's Law in Texas, and I'd like to actually see that throughout the United States. And this would ensure that the violent offenders like Caitlynne's husband won't slip through the cracks and be released from jail with no accountability. I'm going to go to a public service announcement, and we'll be right back with Melanie. Welcome back. This is Shareene Rice at Making a Difference About Domestic Violence, and we are going to be talking to Melanie Infinger. She's happily a mother of 2 daughters and a grandmother to her granddaughter with another grandchild on the way when her life changed forever. She was thrown into a spotlight when her pregnant daughter Caitlynne was murdered by her abusive husband. Melanie remains devoted to her grandchildren and to the memory of her daughter as she fights for the bail law change in Texas, Caitlynne's Law. This would put accountability back in the criminal justice system so no family will have to go through the horror that her family has had to endure. Welcome, Melanie.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
And, our first question is if you could share with us the story of what happened to your daughter, Caitlynne, at the hands of her husband.
Yes, my beautiful daughter, Caitlynne, who was just amazing. She so just a wonderful mother, wonderful daughter. I mean, she was my everything, my best friend, a wonderful sister, just 20 years old. Really, I mean, she was pregnant. She was, we were planning her gender reveal. She was just, really excited about this new baby. We had just found out that it was probably going to be a boy. We just did an ultrasound, which is a little bit sooner than they would have done the ultrasound. That they would have definitely told us for sure it was the right gender, but the doctor kind of circled and said that, we're pretty sure it's a boy, but we're going to find out for sure in a few weeks. And so they gave me the envelope, so we were really excited to do the gender reveal. So, she was in, she was in an abusive relationship. Her husband, who she had only been with for about a year and a half, she was murdered in August 3rd, and we didn't know that about the domestic abuse. We didn't know that she was being, the violence was happening towards her until February. We knew he had killed a cat prior to that, one of her kittens. She loved cats, absolutely loved cats, and they had gotten a kitten, and randomly he faced in. One day she walked out of the bedroom and heard the cat squeal and went back in there, and he had killed the cat. So just randomly in the middle of the day one day. I mean, it was very, very concerning, obviously. From that moment on, I was, constantly, worried and thinking like people who kill cats kill people. And she was, pregnant at the time with Alexis, her daughter. And I just remember telling her, like, what is he going to do to your daughter? Like, what is he going to do to you? Like, if he can bash a cat's face in for not that there's ever a reason to kill a cat, but I just was thinking, like, did he snap? Like, did the cat bite him? Like, what happened? And she just could not give me. I mean, she said, Mom, like, that's the thing. Nothing happened. Like, he wasn't provoked. He wasn't like, nothing happened to cause him to kill the cat. So it was just, very concerning. So up to that point, like I said, he had killed the cat, so we were concerned. But never had she told me that he had abused her until a night in February. When I got a phone call, I had an overnight job at the time. I got a phone call at like 2 a.m. That she was in the car with my parents, and that she was on her way to the ER. And she said, and I immediately was like, I'm on my way. Like, oh my gosh. She's like, no, Mom, it's fine. I'm with Nana. She was with my mom. And she was like, she sent me a picture where he had absolutely, beat beat her to a pulp. I mean, her face was swollen almost beyond recognition. I mean, two black eyes, looked like her nose was broken. I mean, she looked like it was awful. I mean, I immediately just broke down and just was like, oh my gosh, like, you have got to press charges. Like, you cannot let him get away with this, Caitlynne. Like, you have to leave him. I mean, of course, like, I was just freaking out, and she's like, Mom, it's fine. He just took it too far this time. And when she said that, I knew that it had been going on. She said, and that's when, it wasn't until that moment that she started to open up with me and tell me the truth after this happened. And she had said that the abuse had been going on about every weekend, she said, for a while before that happened, but it just had never gotten this bad.
I have a question for you.
Uh-huh.
How long was she married before the abuse started? And I'm talking about mental abuse.
Well, they weren't together long at all before we saw the red flags with the jealousness, the control, the isolation. I mean, we saw all those red flags before the physical abuse started.
Right.
It was very concerning. Yeah, like,
is that like a month into it, 2 months into it?
Yeah, definitely. I would say about a month, and that's about a month into it. Yeah. And for that month, I mean, he was over the top sweet, over the top. Like, just they were like, I mean, throwing the L word, really fast. I mean, they were just, I love you, like everything and more. I mean, it was like he came to me and asked permission to date her. I mean, he was just a real big, I mean, she had never met anyone so nice. And that's what she remember telling me. Like, she's just she's like, Mom. Oh yeah. I mean, she was just like, Mom, like, I'm, he's just so nice. He surprised me at work, and like, he would do things. And being older and having myself been in relationships, that were abusive, I knew the red flags, and I'm like thinking, oh gosh, please God, like, because I know the manipulation, I know the narcissism, right. And I saw them. And then when he met my parents really saw the red flags. Like, they were like, oh no, something's not right with this guy. Like, this guy's bad news. Like, I don't know. We don't trust him. Like, I mean, there's something about him. They just got a really weird vibe off of him. And they moved in together fast. It was very fast. They got tattoos of each other's names on their arms, like within about a month and a half of knowing each other. She got pregnant about probably 3.5 months into the relationship. And it just went from there. I mean, they got married about 3 months later, 3 or 4 months later. But yeah, the mental abuse started, like I said, about a month into it. And so yeah, the abuse. February, the assault, where she went to the ER happened. She did have police come to the police were there at the hospital. They tried to have her press the charges. We tried to have her press charges. Everyone tried, the doctors. And she was just, no, like, I'm not pressing charges. Like, you can stop, asking me to do that. She first thought she was going to. In the car when she was with my parents, she said she was going to. Then she changed her mind when she got to the hospital. When she kind of started to kind of come in more to, she was, and I know it was fear. It was absolutely fear. And she thought he was going to change. I mean, she absolutely thought he was going to change. I mean,
you know why that is, Tanya? It's because the person you know why that is? Because the person that she fell in love with isn't this crazy person. It's another guy, and the guy that he showed her he was. And so she keeps thinking, oh, he just had a bad day, or oh, he just had a bad, too many drinks. That we rationalize it, of course, right?
Oh, that's exactly what she would do. I mean, she would. And even like she would rationalize anything he would do. She would, get defense mode, and she would, try to protect him. And, oh, no, Mom, it's not that bad. Or, oh, Mom, he's going to change. Or, Mom, we're young. Mom, just let me, let me live. Let me learn through my mistakes. Like, I don't need you to keep lecturing me about it, because I don't know how many times I told her, I know this is not going to end well. Like, this is not, it's towards the end. After he beat her up in February, so I knew he was capable of killing her. I mean, I absolutely was in. When he killed the cat, I thought he was capable, but when he did what he did to her in February, and I saw how bad that he it could have easily killed her that night. And so so she did after that assault happened in February, it wasn't even like 10 hours. We were home from the hospital before he was on the phone, calling her, promising her the world, saying he was going to go get help, saying that he was going to do this, and, on and on. And she went right back to him. Right back to him. It was just I was like crying. I was freaking out. No, like you cannot go back to him. And she's like, Mom, I've got this. Like, he's going to change. And so that happened in February. And she, like I said, she was a little more honest with me about it. And because I knew it was happening, she would call me more, to come get her, because she didn't drive. She didn't drive. She didn't want to drive. That was a problem too. I was fearful because that was a control thing. When she was wanting to get her license, I felt like she was telling me she didn't want to, but I think that was something I had a feeling, and I have a feeling that it was kind of him not wanting her to, because once she moved about almost 45 minutes away, he moved her a few months before she was murdered, way far away from us. And they used to live a few blocks away from us. And so I think he was doing his best to get her as far from us as possible, because we knew how bad it was. And isolation.
Yeah. Let's step back a bit on when they killed the cat, she called the police?
No, she did not call the police. That cat. This wasn't the only cat that he killed, because when she was assaulted, so in February, that's when the assault happened. She went to the ER. She didn't press charges. They, the abuse continued. She left him a few times, before she was murdered, and came, with me, and then just kept taking him back. The abuse continued. She always had a safe haven here. She knew that. And then it got towards the end where she did not want to tell me anymore, because she was so tired of me, talking and saying it, that I wanted her to leave him, and, oh my gosh, like, she just didn't want to hear it anymore. It got to where she was like, you know what, Mom, because she kept telling me, that I'm giving him one more chance. Like, if he does it one more time, it's over. But it kept happening. And so, point where she was like, well, Mom, I'm going to quit, telling you things because of your reaction. And I'm like, I had to finally come to terms with, you know what, I need her to know she has a safe place to come, and I just need to back off, because I was losing her more and more. And it was, he moved her away from me. The abuse was continuing, and then she didn't want to hear me anymore. So she would come. I got the last few times that the abuse was going on, or they would even just fight or whatever. She would call me up and be like, Mom, hey, can you come get me? But I don't want you to ask me any questions. I need a safe place to go. So that's kind of, where we were at.
That's cool.
And then, that's where we were at. Yeah, exactly. I was like, you know what, if I just need to just keep my mouth shut, and it means I'm keeping her safe, then I absolutely will do that. So, but a few times I had to, I was like, look, I know you don't want to hear this, but I can't go to sleep tonight unless I just get it off my mind. I love you, but hear me out. So I did do that a few times, because I was her mom, and I just couldn't sleep until I just let her know how I felt. But I was like, you can take it or leave it. But, so that was kind of where we were. So anyway, leading up to the awful, horrible, tragic ending of her life was I basically, the Wednesday before Saturday she was murdered, Wednesday morning, I got a phone call from her that she had informed me that she had been in a hotel the prior 2 days, because he had beat her up on Monday. And she didn't tell me. I didn't know until this moment. She was like, hey, I didn't tell you, but, he beat me up. I got a hotel. I came home. She was like, I came back to the apartment, and I walked in, and he had killed another kitten. She had just gotten it. The kitten was not just tortured, but it was he put it in a bag of bleach.
No.
So, I don't. Yeah, just absolutely horrible. So she called the cops to have him arrested for the cat. She said, Mom, they wouldn't arrest him for the cat, so I told them to arrest him for beating me up Monday. And so they arrested him on assault charges. Well, I immediately, like, I was on my way to work. I mean, I immediately, said, I'm on my way to your apartment. I'll call in work. She's like, because she asked me to please come to her apartment to help her clean up from where he had killed the cat and just help her kind of get the apartment cleaned, and she was just getting a better mindset. And so I was like, absolutely. So I started driving over there, and I had a good 40-minute drive. So I called the SPCA because I was on fire of why in the world they wouldn't have arrested him for the cat. I'm glad they arrested him on assault charges, but I'm thinking in my head, animal cruelty and killing a cat, people who kill cats kill people. Like, that's a felony charge. So
yeah.
I'm like, well, I'm thinking to myself, that would have made a difference. I mean, it might have made a difference if he had this, not just the domestic abuse, but the killing an animal on his record. So they immediately went to the apartment. The SPCA said, no, that is absolutely going to be an open investigation. They went and retrieved the cat out of the dumpster and opened up a case. But he never was charged with that, the animal. Anyways, so he was arrested on assault charges on that Wednesday. And, me and her were in constant contact. I mean, I just had this feeling. I just was so scared. I remember telling her that Wednesday, he got arrested being in her apartment, and just like saying, you have to leave this apartment. Like, you just got to get out. Like, you got to leave. He knows where you are, Caitlynne. Like, I mean, you can say it's over, but he's going to get out of jail, like, sooner or later, and he's going to come back to this apartment. And she's
right.
like, Mom, I'm not leaving my apartment. She didn't want to leave her apartment. That was her apartment. That was her money paid for that apartment. He didn't work. She supported them. It was her first apartment. If she wanted, she was pregnant. She had her sweet baby girl, who was 8 months old at the time. She's a very strong woman. She was very independent, very strong. Because, I mean, I was a single mom my whole life with them. And, so I raised them, she had a really good, she was strong. And she just became a mom 8 months prior. And she just, her life, she was finding meaning. And, and she just really felt like, he's arrested, I'm starting over. She didn't want to let him have that upper hand and, like, him be,
right.
Make her leave her apartment. And
right,
so she was like, I'm not leaving the apartment.
It was her,
mm-hmm.
yeah. And too often we are asked to leave our homes or quit our jobs or move far away because we cannot be kept safe by law enforcement.
No, absolutely not. And her death, sadly, is an example of that, because we never in a million years, she told me, I mean, she didn't want to leave the apartment. I talked to her Thursday. I took off work and I went and got the baby from her because I just said, what can I do to help you? What can I, do you need rest? And she's like, and I said, can I come get Alexis? She's like, yes, you can come get Alexis. Like, I don't help. So I came and got the baby Thursday, and that was the last time I saw her. I will never forget it. Just remember giving her that last hug and telling her how much I loved her and that I was here if she needed anything to call me. I didn't care what time it was. And she's like, Mom, it's going to be fine. She was like, I have a plan. She's like, he's facing a felony and 3 misdemeanors. There's no way he's getting out of jail. And she said no one's going to bail him out, so she wasn't worried about that. So
and didn't
I
she
just
put a
feel in the
restraining order on him?
Yeah, she had a protective order.
Yeah.
She did have a protective order after this assault charge. So we never in a million years thought he'd get out, ever.
Can I just input something real quick? I don't know if you know who Kit Gruelle is. She helped create the movie Private Violence, and she's been doing advocacy work for, I don't know, probably 50 years, 40 years, I don't know, a long time. And she walked into a radio station with a pile of restraining orders, and he said, "What is this?" She goes, "That's what we call last will and testament."
Wow. Yeah. Yeah, it didn't do anything at all. I mean, for this, they didn't protect. I mean, it was a piece of paper to him. I mean, it wasn't. And his manipulative ways, absolutely, is what she was going to meet him at the apartment. I mean, she was going to, like, he had called her. Well, I said this is stuff that we've been told. So this is stuff they have her phone, they have the records, but what we've been told is phone call. She was actually that Saturday morning. I had Alexis. I had talked to her early that morning. She was going to come get Alexis from the house. Her stepmom had just drove in from Louisiana. Sadly, Caitlynne's dad passed away when she was 14, but her stepmom is still a big part of her life. And so she was going to come and get the baby to take some off of her and bring her to Louisiana so she could, for, like, I don't know, a few days or whatever. And so they all came to my house. I had left for work 30 minutes before she came and got Alexis. And how I wish I could have not went to work that morning as early as I did. I absolutely, knowing now what she was murdered, I've replayed that in my head 10,000 times, wishing I would have just waited for her to come get Alexis. But I was trying to get into work so I could get off earlier. And so anyway, so my parents though had the baby. My parents had come over. They live next door, and so they just said they had never seen her so happy, that she was glowing that morning. They said that she was they just couldn't believe, like, she looked so good. They said that just the way she was, acting, just that they said that they just remember looking back at those moments with her, those last moments, and just she left and they were just like, wow, like, she's really doing good. Like, it's really over. Like, it's like she had already had his parents come and get his stuff out of the apartment. She's like had made her decision that it was really over this time, and it was done, and she had a plan. She was happy in those last moments of her life. She was so happy, and that does give me some peace. But she was starting over. Unfortunately, because of our messed up system, she wasn't, given that chance to live her life and start over.
Right.
Because that Saturday I'm at work and I get a phone call, and it's an unknown number. And I had just gotten the phone call after like a few minutes before that, like literally like 30 minutes that from the stepmom that she knew he had gotten out. And so I was freaking out, and I'd been she's like, you need to try to call Caitlynne. We're not able to get her. Like, we've been trying to call her. We have the baby. We're on our way to Louisiana, but she's not answering her phone. So I'm like, what? And I'm like, so I'm calling her number. I'm texting her, calling her, and not getting any response. And he used to always take her phone when they would fight. Like, and this was a common thing. So I'm thinking, like, they got in a fight, he took her phone. So when I got an unknown number, I immediately told my parents. I was on the other line with my parents, and I said, I got to answer this. I said, because it could be Caitlynne, calling me from someone else's phone. And I answered the phone, and they immediately just said, is this Miss Infinger? And I just knew. At that moment, I just knew. And I just said, who is this? And they said, have they called you about Caitlynne? And I said, no, what are you talking about? And they said, oh, we don't normally do this way. Hold on, we're gonna have to call you back in 5 minutes. So basically, it was the medical examiner, not knowing I didn't know already. They had thought I was contacted. I was never contacted. So I had to sit. I was screaming for them to please tell me what he did to my baby. And I just said, please tell me. And they wouldn't tell me. They called me back. And she said, I'm so sorry to tell you that your daughter was pronounced dead at the medical center after Alex stabbed her to death 20 times, mainly in the abdomen, and slit her throat. And, yeah. And she was roughly 4 months pregnant. And, yeah, I mean, I just literally for that 5 minutes was on the floor screaming, knowing that my baby was gone before they ever told me. I just knew. And, yeah, so, I mean, everything goes in slow motion. Everything just in that moment, it just, you never think, Caitlynne was big into true crime. Like, she got me into true crime. I mean, I used to pray that it would make her like leave him. I used to pray the more true crime she watched, that maybe one of these shows would like she would open her eyes up and realize that she's living a lot of these, you know, lives that you would see in these stories that, you know, they get killed. And I just remember like praying that she would like leave him, and I don't know if that's one of the reasons why she did finally like, you know, up and leave him, you know. But anyways, so yeah, so we never thought in a million years. I remember just being so mad because I thought someone had bailed him out. I mean, after the initial shock, you know, was my first thing is like, you know, whose fault is it? Like, who let him out? Like, yeah, I just started naming off people, thinking that someone went and paid bail on him. Like, who in the world would do that? And then it wasn't until the Pasadena chief police, Bruger, who's amazing, and he's been amazing through all this. He went on TV and did a televised, you know, thing to the public, basically pointing the finger at Harris County and about the PR bonds, and saying that that Alex, Caitlynne's husband, was already out on a PR bond, and then they gave him another PR bond on this assault charge. And then, I mean, about 18 hours later, you know, stabbed Caitlynne to death after getting out of jail. And I'm like, what is he talking about? I didn't even know what a PR bond was. It wasn't until I saw him on the news that I knew something wasn't right. And so I started doing my research and calling the DA. I mean, I started just calling everybody, like, what is he talking about? And basically I found out that, you know, he didn't have to pay any cash. Like, he didn't have to pay a bond. The DA asked for a high bond. The DA asked for a $50,000 bond for him. And then he went before a magistrate, and the magistrate just said, okay, you can get out. I mean, you just promised to come back to court. So he had an open DWI from just a few months prior, an open hit and run. You know, those were open cases when Caitlynne was murdered. When she got that assault charge on that Wednesday before she was murdered, then he was let out on another PR bond. He already had two open cases for a DWI. That's a violent crime in itself. I mean, and then a judge you go and assault your wife and kill your cat, and then you just get him a slap on the wrist, and I call it a get out of jail free card. I mean, it's basically that's what it is. It is. You're not being held accountable. I mean, you can go commit crimes and just not have to pay anything and not have any consequences. They're just going to let you out to go commit more crimes, and they're going to let you out to go murder people, because that's exactly what happened to Caitlynne.
Was that judge removed from his seat?
Nope.
That's a problem.
From my knowledge, nothing has happened. Nothing at all has happened. I mean,
you know, it's public
I remember
information to know who was sitting over his case when he was released.
Yeah, I would love to know. I've been told by many people in the system that there's nothing in place to show that they've even checked his criminal history before letting him out. I mean, it's almost as if I honestly, since this happened, I've so many times said, I just felt like this judge and these magistrates, it's like a job. It's just a job to them. Like, they're just signing off on a paper, and they're just not even looking at these people. Like, they're just not even looking at these criminals, and that these are criminals. These are violent criminals. Like
let me ask you another question. When his name is brought up, because the judges, they look at a computer, right? When his name is brought up, a list of stuff doesn't come up with that name?
I have been told that there is not a system in place that looks at their criminal history. That is part of Caitlynne's law that we are trying to put into place. That there will be some sort of risk management system that will look at that they have to look at and consider their criminal history before letting them have a PR bond. Not to mention back-to-back PR bonds. I mean, Caitlynne is not the only one. I mean, it happens all the time. People are getting murdered, and then they're pulling out these people's history, and it's like, what? They had 2, 3, 4 PR bonds? I mean, it's just like, what? Like, they're risking their lives to arrest these criminals for what? You know? I mean, it's like they're risking their lives, and they're going before a judge or a magistrate, and they're just letting these criminals out to go, just commit more crimes and worse crimes. So there's no accountability, and that's what Caitlynne's law, I'm hoping, will put accountability back into the system. That's my ultimate goal, is to make a change. And I know that Caitlynne loved helping people. She was the most compassionate person I knew. And I absolutely know that this is what she would be advocating, and I know she wanted to help people, and she was actually a part of domestic abuse Facebook groups. We found out, and we found this out from the DA. They found in her phone a lot of evidence of the abuse from her phone being a part of these Facebook groups, pictures and just a lot of stuff that I didn't even know that she was a part of. So she was really trying to, I know she wanted to help others, and I know that she is looking from above and pushing me, and holding me up and to fight for her and her babies, because he didn't just murder her and her unborn. She had already had a miscarriage because of the abuse before this. So she's got 2 babies in heaven with her because of his abuse. In the murder. So Caitlynne's law, it's going to be to make sure that these R bonds are not given to violent criminals. And if they're arrested on any assault charge, that they should not be given a PR bond. And also to make sure they don't get consecutive PR bonds. If they go out and commit a crime, then you go commit another crime, you're not getting out on a personal recognizance bond. Like, you need to serve your time. And so it's just that is
typically
and
shouldn't
also
be on a PR bond.
I'm sorry.
I said if anything's physical, you shouldn't be out on a PR bond.
No, it's absolutely not. I mean, it's just, the PR bonds. And a lot of people will argue, a lot of people who are for PR bonds, and I'm not saying we're against PR bonds. I mean, I am for PR bonds how it was originally set out to be. If it was that way today, then I would be fine with PR bonds. But the problem is it was made for minor offenses. Like, they argued that the rich would go before a judge and be able to pay their, bail, and so they were they were having to serve time, and yet the poor people were going and sitting in jail, for several months over like a ticket, or something minor, because they didn't have money, if they had money, they would have not had to serve time. So that's why it was set up. It was, it was a rich, poor, discriminatory type of thing. And so I do understand why it was made. But it was not supposed to be, PR bonds. It should not have happened ever with a violent criminal. And that's where the whole bail system has gotten so way off track. It's so the pendulum has swung so far to the left that there's no accountability. That criminals nowadays, especially in Harris County, it's just, why would they stop committing crimes? I mean, they know that they're not even held accountable. I mean,
right.
They're getting away with it. I mean, and so I'm just praying that Caitlynne's law will get passed so that other people do not have to live this nightmare that I'll never wake up from. Right. We went one day from planning a gender reveal to planning her funeral like the next day. It's just and I have her baby. I have her baby, Alexis. I'm raising her baby, and so I'm so blessed. But to have Alexis, and she's just her mama made over.
Yeah, and you said that she lost 2 babies with this abuse. Was she pregnant twice?
She did. She was. Three times, including Alexis. So after Alexis, she was pregnant a second time, and she actually found out in February when she went to the ER that night. That she called me. She found out she was pregnant, and within a week of that abuse, she miscarried, and she would have never admitted it, But we all knew, and she knew deep inside that he caused it. And we actually found through other things after she was murdered that she knew. I mean, whether it was text or someone she talked to, she knew it was him, but she was never going to tell me that. She was just, oh, it was just stress, and I'm like, Caitlynne, we know that it was because of Alex's abuse. I mean, she told me details about how he abused her in February, and he was, sitting on her stomach, and, everything she told me, I knew it was the abuse that caused the miscarriage. And so, but yeah, she miscarried that second baby. And then sadly, she lost the third with the murder.
Yeah. And, didn't you say, that when she got a call from him, not the court, right?
And that's, yes, from our knowledge that the court never called her whenever he got out. There was no knowledge of him getting out, other than she did get a phone call, and at the very last minute, she was with her stepmom in Alexis at a hotel that her stepmom, was staying at, and she said that her stepmom just said, Melanie, it's like happened so fast. She's like, she was feeding Alexis, she got a phone call. She looked at me and said, here, you take Alexis. I have to get to the apartment before Alex gets there. He wants me to meet him at the apartment with Alexis. And she said, and I'm not bringing her. She was like, you need to keep Alexis, and I will let you know when it's safe. And yeah, and she saved Alexis's life. We absolutely believe it was premeditated. He arranged for her to be there with Alexis. And waited for Caitlynne, and
and he wanted to kill that baby too.
He was absolutely going to kill Alexis, and that's what's so crazy about this case too, is he's in for capital murder, and he has a bond. I mean, he has a bond right now. I mean, he could absolutely get out. I mean, and that's a very scary thing. I live in fear.
Thinking?
I mean,
what is Texas thinking? I mean, how could they do that?
It's I don't know. I don't even know how that happens. It's crazy. I mean, I'm constantly like, I'm scared to leave our house. I mean, it's like I'm constantly looking over our shoulder. I'm constantly scared. I mean, I'm locking my door 1,000 times at night, checking windows. I mean, I'm just afraid he's going to get out and come finish what he started. And I'm afraid he's going to kill Alexis. I'm afraid he's going to kill me. I mean, me and him, like, he's never liked me because I've always been, Caitlynne's advocate, and we saw right through him from the beginning. So he didn't like me. And so I'm thinking, yeah, it's just crazy. I mean, there's so many red flags. I mean, if I can speak to anybody that's being in an abusive situation, her biggest thing, and I've been there, is they don't change. Like, I mean, she thought he was going to change.
They don't change.
It just gets worse. They don't change.
Yeah.
It just gets worse. I mean, so you have to trust your intuition. We are given that intuition for a reason, and we are given that feeling. And if you're fighting those feelings, you have to trust it. I mean, God gives us. I mean, and when we don't trust it, I mean, it just gets worse. And I mean,
that is such an important part of knowing an abuser, is the gut feeling or something doesn't seem right in your head. There's a great book on that. It's called Gift of Fear. It's like an amazing book. First time I learned to listen to my gut.
Mhm. Oh yeah, it took me many years. I mean, to learn from my mistakes and understand what that feeling really was, and that and that I needed to trust it and listen to that intuition. And I used to tell Caitlynne that all the time. It's like, I mean, what you need to do. And I mean, but she just was so loving, and she just wanted to be loved, and she wanted the happy family. Like, she got pregnant, that second time, and it's like they were separated when she got pregnant. And I just remember thinking, oh my gosh, like, she is going to take him back. I just know it. Like, he got her pregnant on purpose so that she would take him back. I just knew it. And I cried and cried and cried, and I wanted to be so happy for her and this baby, but I just feared that she was going to take him back when she got pregnant that second time. And she did. She absolutely did. And I I told her so many times, like, he's going to kill you. And she's like, Mom, I'm giving him one more chance. I said, Caitlynne, what if you're out of chances? Like, what? I mean, you basically, or, I mean, how bad, I even told her, I said, how bad does it have to get? He's going to kill you.
Yeah.
I remember telling her that, and she just was like, Mom, he's going to change. He's going to get help. He was the biggest manipulator I have ever met. I mean, he put on the best front in front of people. I mean, he made my daughter, my other daughter, Caitlin's sister, Madison. I mean, she just turned 14 in August. I mean, he and her, that was like, I mean, her best bud. Like, you know, I mean, she thought he hung the moon. I mean, he won everybody over. I mean, you know, I mean, everybody. He was just the sweetest, coolest dude, you know. I mean, just really so sweet, you know, and had everyone fooled, or at least he thought he did. I mean, he didn't have me and my parents fooled, but anyone that met him thought that, you know, it was the sweetest guy. I mean, so sweet.
Yeah,
I always just treated Caitlynne so good.
I always say they can win more Oscars than any actor in Hollywood because of their ability to act.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, and like you said before earlier, you know, they had their good times. I mean, she absolutely, you know, fell in love with a different person. I mean, you know, she hung on to those good times, and she hung on to that was, you know, that she thought, you know, that was her best friend, and you know, and she thought that he's just jealous because that's just, you know, he loves me, and you know, I mean, she didn't, but he was overly jealous, overly controlling, and you know, she just didn't see it. She was, you know, kidding herself into thinking it was love, and I just was like, no, this is not normal, Caitlynne. Like, you can't live your life like this. Like, you know, like, it doesn't get easier. Like, and when she married him, I'm like, oh gosh, like, I'm like, Caitlynne, like, yeah, I mean, is this the life you want for your kids? Like, is this the life you want to live for the rest of your life? Like, you think it's really going to get better, because it really's not. And but she is so strong-minded. Like I said, she didn't want to be a single mom. And she just, you know, she took him back and really thought he was going to change. And you know, and they don't. Like I said, it's just, that's the biggest thing. If anybody can get anything out of this conversation, is get out. I mean, trust your gut and get out, for you, for your safety, for your babies. I mean, because it, you know, sadly, I mean, Caitlynne is a perfect example that, you know, it just, our system does not protect you. The only person that can protect you is you. And so you have to make that choice and get out and hide. I mean, if you can.
Right. Now, after he murdered her, didn't he call the police?
He did. He called 911 and said, I just killed my wife, and I need help. That's what I was told. He needed police, or he needed help. I'm not sure the exact words, but I just know he did call 911, and he called his dad. We found out later that he did call his dad as well, in that moment, before the police came. And then when the police came, I was told that he walked out of the apartment and had blood on his pants. And I also was told, the investigator that we met with right after, he said, the first meeting we had, he sat us down and he said it was the quickest confession he had ever had in his entire career. He said, we sat down, I went to go get DNA from him, and he was like, why do you need DNA? I did it. I killed her. Cold as cold can be. And, I mean, that's what the investigator told us. I mean, he was, like, just in shock.
And why would there be a bond on that?
Yeah. It's sick. I mean, it's just crazy. I would love to know how that works. I mean, I don't know. To me, so many people, like, how does that even happen? Like, who does he know? like, how does that even work? Like, it's our how messed up our system is.
Yeah. Well, the judge is setting everybody else up to get murdered too. That's in her family, for sure, by allowing a bond. He has not reached the bond. Is the bond high for his release right now?
It's $500,000. I mean, it's doable. I mean, you know what I'm saying? And
doable.
I think it's definitely doable. Absolutely. So I just hope and pray that, you know, no one bails him out. I mean, I'm hoping and praying that, you know, his family and friends, you know, see the danger that would be to Alexis. You know, yeah. I mean, you know, I don't know. I don't know what the thought process is. I don't know where they're, you know, as far as his, you know, family goes, I have no idea. I just know that I have signed up for Vine. My parents have, you know, where, you know, you get a phone call and a text or, you know, whenever, if they get out, we are signed up. So we will get notification. I pray if he ever gets out, like, so that we have, time to, you know, to flee.
Well, quick question. How can people help support you with this Caitlynne's Law?
Absolutely. We have a website, Caitlynn'sLaw.org, but we haven't done a whole lot with the website because everything's all about social media. So Facebook is where we've posted a lot of stuff, and I kind of keep up to date on that. I keep everybody up to date on everything with Caitlynne's Law on my Facebook page. So Facebook is really the way to go right now. It's Caitlynne is spelled very, very uniquely. Caitlynne used to laugh about it because she's like, "Why did you have to spell my name this way? No one's ever going to get my name right," and they never did. But it's Caitlynne, and it's spelled CAITLYNNE. But it's Caitlynne's Law, and that's out on Facebook. But if you also go to Caitlynn'sLaw.org, I mean, there's a link at the bottom for the Facebook. So you can just pop on the link there, and it sends you there. But that is right now. If y'all could, if people could, you know, go like the Caitlynne's Law Facebook page, keep up with it, because we are going to be updating that page. The closer, obviously, we get to election, the more interviews, the more stuff is going to be happening, whether that's, you know, having to get something signed, whether that's, you know what I'm saying, like the closer we get, the more we will know kind of what we need from the public to assist us. But right now, it's just getting the story out there as much as possible, and, you know, it's just making people aware of what Caitlynne's Law is, and how it will save lives, and so that when it does come time for election, it's, you know, been known, it's been talked about, and hopefully, you know, it will be what makes this change that, you know, should have already happened. Sad that my daughter has to be the poster child for this change, but you know, praying that it doesn't continue to get worse and more people's lives aren't lost because of this system. That's no justice. There's no accountability at all.
Yeah, I'm going to spell that out for everyone. It's CAITLYNNESLAW. So Caitlynne's Law. And you might be able to receive some help from Leslie at Alicia's Voice as well. She's in Texas as well. Maybe all of you together can get a lot out there. I pray that you get this through. You need it. There's no reason why a victim should have to sign up for anything. It should be automatic that they're signed up and they're contacted if they've got a restraining order on someone. That's an absolute given on getting a hold of them as soon as they're out. I mean, I just can't wrap my brain around that.
No, I can't either. I really can't. I mean, it happens all the time.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
I'm glad he's in jail, and I think when he goes, "I need help," I think he was saying, "I'm psycho, so you're gonna let me out early."
Yeah, he said that would be something like his manipulative, narcissistic ways would probably have said. You're probably right, because he was, like you said, the best actor in the world. Right. Yeah, these men, I guarantee you unequivocally they could beat out anybody in Hollywood. My ex-husband was the same way. I was just in shock at how well he can dupe everyone. And like you said, her younger sister was completely duped by him as well. It is. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
it was sad. It was so sad for her. I mean, it's shocked.
Yeah.
I mean, just so she had to, she's been through a lot. I mean, saying like, 'cause she was absolutely fooled, and it just makes us, question, just when something like this happens, to your sister or your daughter. I mean, just
Right.
trust, like, where you just the evil out there. It's just, it's a very scary world.
Yeah, and she probably is second guessing her ability to identify behaviors, right? I would if I was
Exactly.
her, for sure.
Exactly, and we've talked about that. Absolutely. Yeah, she absolutely has.
Well, I'm so glad that you have the baby, and I'm so glad that he wasn't able to hurt the baby. And I'm so sorry that you lost your daughter. Absolutely. Absolutely no one should have to go through that.
Thank
okay,
you.
I'm gonna push as much as I can to help you out. Definitely, I would like you to join us at the DV conference. I know you'll be in Florida, but we can pre-record anything you'd like for the conference if you'd like.
Great. That sounds great.
And I'm just so grateful that your publicity team, I don't know, that contacted me. It was great.
They're awesome.
Yeah, they're absolutely awesome. So thank you so much for being on tonight, and I so appreciate you sharing this with us. I know it had to have been extremely difficult, and I'm so sorry, so very sorry. But I will do everything I can.
And thank you for the opportunity.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I want to do everything we can to help you with your law. Hopefully we have the same laws in this state. If not, it's definitely something to look into because that is way too scary.
Mhm. Thank you so much.
Yeah. You have a good night, and thank you so much for joining us.
Yes, ma'am. Thank y'all. You have a good night.
You as well.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. I want to thank Melanie for joining us tonight and hearing her story in Texas and what she went through, what her daughter went through, losing two babies and knowing that he wanted to kill the third one. And he called her and said so, meet me at such and such a place. And that's where he killed her. So I want to wish everyone a good night. Please stay safe. And again, I'll be on every Thursday night through October. Have a good night.